Hello and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn. Thank you so much for joining us today, whether you're watching live or you're watching on demand. It's lovely to have you here with us. Very excited for today's stream, so we're going to jump straight into it and introduce artist Joy Chiang. I'm bad at this.
Hello, everyone.
There you are. You are actually there. It's good to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us again on Adobe Live Asia Pacific.
Thank you for having me back.
It's always a pleasure. We had a great time yesterday. We kind of explored and kind of had a bit of a play around with Firefly boards, which both Joy and I independently and individually quite enjoy the process, which was really cool. So you can check that out. It's in beta. You can go to firefly.adobe.com. That's it, I think, /boards, if memory serves correctly. Yeah. Oh, there we go. You've got yours up. So and just the idea of playing with something that's new and fresh and seeing where it's going to go is always a fun thing to do live. So that was really cool. But if you missed it, I love this. And I told Joy, I love how she's created a little computer screen for her digital art, little shelf for her ceramic images. That's a art board for more artwork style things. Very, very cool. I love it.
It's already getting messy.
Right.
So one of the cool things, you can organize things really quickly.
Yeah, I love that because I'm so messy.
Fast.
So it's really good to do that. Yeah.
So they're like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's cool because then you can be really messy and don't have to be really worried about lining things up too much.
Yeah,
because you know that you can just select it all and just arrange it at the end.
Yes.
But very, very cool. But I'll let you actually jump in and kind of talk a little bit more about what we're going to do today. But I'm very excited for today.
Awesome. So, one of the things we left off was around, I think we wanted to talk about how I loop some of my animations and videos together, especially for like social media or any short format type of videos that you don't really want to spend too much time creating like a whole movie type of thing, but it's really cool when short animations kind of loop in so they can play infinitely. And I feel like it's such an easy thing, but people who haven't done it before overthink the process and probably overcomplicate things, but ultimately it's just the first and the last frame need to match. So with AI and Adobe Firefly Video, you can do that super quickly because you just pick the first and the last frame. And because I've been doing it for quite a while, I feel like there's certain things that you can think about to make your job easier, but also while you're prompting, you can actually give it a hand by picking images that are already similar color scheme so that it doesn't jump too much from the before and after. But also if you already have a rough storyboard of how you want the content to transition across to the final form, then you can kind of visually see that link a bit better. And then that way, as you're getting the results between the two frames, you know which one looks better because you know how you're going to chop and change it after. So I know sometimes doing the videos takes a little while to load. So I've prepared something earlier.
Oh, how forward thinking of you.
Yeah, and look, here we go. Okay, this is for later. Where are we? So, for example, this was the one that I wanted to use yesterday to show people how to loop and animate. So the easiest thing is if you use this image to create an AI video directly in here, you just describe what you want to generate, and then you can use that as the first and last frame so that it'll just kind of have some movement and that's it. So that the easiest one is you pick the first and the last frame as the exact same image that you want, or you can kind of manually help it along by creating a second one where I've moved the cake stand and I've changed some of the flowers around so it'll kind of force some of the motions. Sometimes if you do like a slower speed in your prompt, it might just kind of morph into it. But if you want something a bit more crazy, you can add in more adjectives like, jumping, bumping, crashing, splashing, those type of words to give more motion to the end result. And then a lot of the times you might get stuff that you don't like, but if you have the time to play around, you can get pretty much what you envisage in the in-between takes. So I kind of didn't want it just to be like a 3-second, 5-second video of the before and after. So I thought I'd show you, actually, before we jump into animating this one, this is kind of a mix of my flowers that I generated through Firefly. And then this is a cake stand I'm currently making in the studio.
Like a real cake stand?
Yeah, a real cake stand.
Right.
And a photo, and then in Photoshop, let me open Photoshop. In Photoshop, I've got kind of like a board, like the Firefly board, where I've just cut out and removed backgrounds of some of the images I've captured in the ceramic studio. So then I can just copy and paste. So that's where I've gotten that cake stand from.
Right.
And it was literally me holding it, and I've just removed my hand and smoothed out the edges so that you can kind of get the right angle. I think this one might have been like a video where I was just showing the video of me holding the cake stand, and then at that angle I was like, oh, this looks quite cool, and then it actually matches the composition of the flowers kind of flying out of it.
Right.
So some things you can dictate. So if you want to be really prescriptive of how you got to the end result, you can just directly do that. Otherwise, okay, here's it. So for example, this is like just like a dump of, as you can see, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 70. It's definitely not organized, but this way I can quickly see what kind of existing forms I have that I want to remix with some of the digital stuff. And then, for example, this is like, oh, this is a cool angle, and then I'll shift around and play with it with some of these outputs. So I think this was one of the, this is one of the outputs that I quite liked. And then this is another one. So I use the same style so that the color scheme stays across the different frames. Anyway, so if you see this one, I'll preload so I wrote anti-gravity flowers and leaves floating and bumping into each other, cake stand floating into frame, because the first one didn't have a cake stand. And because this form looks like a cake stand, I don't want it thinking it's something else and then kind of appears in a weird way. So you might, but you can also be very loose and not dictate some of these physical things inside so that it's a bit more creative with the outcome. So this is one that I liked. It's kind of like floating around, and then it's kind of...
Oh, cool. Can you zoom in a little bit so we can...
Oh, yes, sorry.
I can see it fine, but just some people might have a smaller screen. But yeah.
There we go.
Because it's pretty cool. There's a lot of detail.
Yeah. So then, like, it's picking up the color scheme of the first and the second without, like, you're not making the machine work overtime trying to match the background and the foreground. Whereas if the background stays the same, it's just moving the things in front of it because it's not changing drastically. So I think if you're thinking about creating an animation, if there's like a lot of stuff going on, give it some prompts to know what's in the foreground, what's in the background, so then it at least knows. So for example, if you have a landscape and you have something in the foreground, tell it that there's a landscape in the background so it knows not to move the mountains as it transitions into a flower. So something like that might be helpful. And then what I find, it might be because this program is still in beta, but sometimes when I do the first and the last frame, it gets it mixed up. But the workaround is that when I'm kind of grouping and joining them all together in Premiere Pro, I just reverse the video that it's exported. So I think for this one, you can kind of see like the last frame was actually the first frame. So how it's like transitioned to this as the last frame, even though I've specifically said it was or maybe I did it wrong. I probably did it wrong, but sometimes it actually does do the reverse, but then I'll just reverse it in the thing. So the only thing to be mindful is that if you use a prompt, something like a turntable animation, usually it's one specific direction. So then if you are trying to join, you don't want it to go and then halfway around, because you're going to join a couple of videos together.
Right.
So then this frame to this one, we got this. And then the next one, I'm joining these two together, and it's kind of reversed, but I can just reverse it together. But I think also have a look at the speed, the speed of things moving. So they're kind of similar speeds. So you can kind of see that if I were to join them together without speed ramping, without changing the speed, it should look pretty cohesive. And then the last one is kind of this one. Let me load. Yeah, so then this one I kind of wanted to float up. So then it doesn't look like the cake stand on the table has just disappeared. So then it looks like I've thrown flowers into the sky, and that's why I used that prompt, I think. And then this one, I looped it back to this. So I use this one as the first frame, this one's the second frame, to get the first frame back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you have just the two flowers kind of floating around.
That's cool. Like you can see that sort of thing like in a I don't know, perfume commercial or something. Like you could see it kind of in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the stuff in the bin of some of the stuff that I didn't like. So for example, this one's really nice.
Yeah.
But it's too slow.
Right.
And it didn't match some of the other speed when I was talking about how like I can speed ramp it and then I can move it and jolt it and do some stuff post, but it might not look as cohesive. I don't know why this one isn't going to look. Yeah, I think this one's also too slow. So this is when like I'm changing some of the prompts to make it do more of what I want. What's this one? Oh yeah, this one, because I use cake stand, it's given me like all these extra cake stands.
Right, it's adding in cake
from
stands.
From the first to the last, like you can see right up until the end, it's kind of like, oh shit, I need to, oh crap, I can't swear. Like, oh, I need to get rid of this cake stand quickly. And then it kind of just disappears behind the thing. So it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So this is where like that additional thinking and planning helps when you're doing 2 frames to give it something to guide that transition process rather than just chucking 2 things and hoping for the best. If you have a lot of time, sometimes you get some really cool ones that might generate further ideas like, oh, actually, it looked really cool when the cake stand shattered and then that turned into flowers. But that might be something you can guide if that's the result you want, or you just like it just kind of came out randomly and then you're like, oh, take it to a different direction. So this is kind of how I've got the 4 different animations. And then if I open up Premiere Pro, I've loaded them into here. Can you see this clearly?
Yeah, I can. I'm just moving our cameras so we can see the timeline as well. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So I've done like a minor speed ramp across some of them, and some of them I think speed wise I've done like 200,
quite like your
300%.
artboard setup for this actually.
Yeah, because a lot of my stuff is in Reels or TikTok, and then I prefer the the portrait view. Yeah,
I might steal that actually. That's cool.
Yes. So then I can have it all in one spot. And so this one I've just sped it up a bit more because I feel like it looks a little bit unrealistic. So those type of things I just kind of speed up and shuffle through. And then the ones, I think this is the one I reversed. So that kind of just float off and then it goes into the sky and then it comes back. So then the first and the last frame. One. The audio.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't played around with this very much.
And it's so good. Let me see if I can just use, let's try a new one. So upload media. Oop.
So this is all at adobe.firefly.com, I think. Like some of these things, all of these things really. Firefly.adobe.com. I always get it mixed up.
Oh, wait, this is the one that already has sound. So let's generate a new one, for example. So I can't remember what I used. Maybe like relaxing ambient background music, and then flowers and petals hitting each other. What's this like? I don't do sound much, so I actually don't know that many descriptive words sound related. Like, what would you call like petals smashing, hitting,
smashing, colliding?
Colliding, that's a good one. Colliding. I don't know, let's see. Generate. I tried this with one of my 3D animations and I was shocked at how good it was. Yeah. Is that really loud?
I'm okay on my side. Maybe let us know, chat, if it's too loud on the output. It should be about the same as mine.
Down my volume a little bit. So, so I noticed that it picks up some of the motions. I think I
Oh,
had one where
okay.
something's like hit the floor and then it's done like like a thud.
Oh,
Alright, let's play it. Let's see. Oh, sorry. I think that one is a bit scratchy, but it's really cool.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. Let's see if I.
So you think that it is picking up visually what's happening on the screen and
I think so.
try to match it with
I'll
the
do
sound.
this one. So, for example, let's do relaxing piano music in the background. Metal log warning with my machine sounds. I don't know. Let's try.
Sounds good. It's a whole new thing. It was like when prompting came for like text to image, and we all had to learn how to describe images like a gallerist
Yeah.
or like a curator or something, or some sort of like art major. Had to learn all the terminology.
Oh, this is like Transformer-ish.
Oh, I'm stuck in a cylinder.
But I had one that was like really epic. It had like really good back, but as the forms kind of moved around, it had like the right sound effects at the right time. And I
Right.
was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
But I
that's
guess the
surprising.
workaround is you can just do two separate sounds. So that one prompt is for the background sound by itself without really any interference. And then the other one will be just like a specific mechanical sound and you can layer it up, I guess. But yeah, it's the first time I used it and I thought it was so cool.
It's pretty
Anyway,
cool.
sidetracked.
Yeah. No, I like that.
So then after I've jammed all the sequences together, this is the export. And I think the background is one of the sounds I exported. It's like one of the first ones I. See how like the fluttering
Yeah.
was reflective of the bit that was shaky?
Yeah, and there was a bit of bass as well at the start.
Yeah.
That came and left. Yeah.
Like when
that.
you hit the. So then this will actually loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I did.
That's really
this.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the second one, I started this process using some of the images we got yesterday that I really love because I was really obsessed with that purple pink spacey looking thing. This one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
These bits. Yeah. And then I ended up playing with like some rock formations, some little islands. How cool is this? I wanted to do something with this, but then I was like, I really like this type of formation, but then I really like the color palette of this one of my like paintings. So then I remixed these two to get something like these.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And these ones I changed the settings. I think for some of these I made the composition less like pretty much to 0, and then the style reference I turned it up. So this way the results I can definitely control that it's going to be way more painterly than the 3D form. And then one trick is if you reverse the strength of the reference style and the composition, then you'll get something on the other end, and that's a really smooth transition if you're going to turn that into a video animation. Even just those two end frames will look really seamless because it's come from the same image. So that's a quick hack.
Cool. I really like them.
And then I got this.
Yeah, they're really great.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
cool.
yeah, so this one is one that probably had more of the 3D side and so less on the style and more on the composition in terms of importance. So then I got something like that. And I was thinking of like maybe having this float up out of the water or kind of submerge. So then I played around with this one.
Yeah, really cool. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I was like, oh, what would be like a cool way to transition this and this? So sometimes before I start, like I didn't really have like an idea of how to transition to loop them.
Mm.
And then as I'm animating them and getting more ideas, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So then I started playing. So this one was just this by itself as a prompt. I just wanted to see what it would do if I made the rock form move up and down,
Yeah,
for
and what was the
example.
prompt for that one? I find it really
This one was
interesting.
sinking into the water. And then I said Chinese landscape, water rippling.
What's
So
that
then it,
first word in there?
Taihu rock.
Yeah,
Taihu is like you know, Chinese people are really into rocks.
right.
Some rocks
Okay,
like you can like at auction houses sell for a lot because of the specific formation.
right,
So there's like certain people collect rocks specifically because of the way it's formed, and there's like a whole market for it. Kind of like your bonsai trees.
oh yeah, right,
So like some people will like pair them with certain plants so that they have like a really beautiful artwork in their
right,
home that's alive. And then type of rock is like some of the forms that people would collect and kind of that style. So I
right.
really like the shape because I think one of the exports we had yesterday had some of that rock formation, and I just wanted to be more specific because if I wrote a rock, it'll come out as very static round pebble
Right. Yep. I
because
find it.
most
Sorry, go on.
rocks. No, yeah. So most rocks, I think, in the AI would pick up as like your standard round.
Yeah,
pebbly
you see the stacked
rocks.
pebbles. I think we saw at some point, like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing. You have
yeah.
to be you have to dig a lot deeper. I find it really interesting
Yeah.
in that animation, that one that you just did with the rock falling
This
down.
one?
It understood the background, like it's clearly layering it
Yeah,
itself, like the background.
yeah. And I told it because I said Chinese landscape.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
I wonder if there's a next step where we come from here where you can export things into different layers as well. Like it'd
Oh,
be
that would
cool
be
if you could bring
cool.
that into Photoshop or
Yeah.
Premiere,
Mm.
but they were automatically on different layers and it had like an animation. So you could go in there and add like, I want to add
Oh,
an
that would be so cool.
ease. I want to maybe
But I don't
change the
think it would be hard
direction.
to mask things now
Right.
because it's already pretty good. Like
It's
the
already separated,
quality
right?
of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the details of it is actually crazy.
Just how it understands that there's like the abstract border isn't moving above the ripple,
I
but the
know.
ripple is moving in the water, in the reflection. There's a lot
Yes.
going on there. I'm kind of mind
So
blown by
what?
that one.
How cool is this one?
Really cool. But this has that morph effect, which I think makes more sense. But there's a lot of information happening in that first one that's kind of blown my mind a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
Very cool.
I don't know what this one is. Oh, I think I just used that image by itself to see what it would do.
Yeah.
And kind of didn't really blend as much as I liked. So I probably bin this one. Doo-doo-doo. I think, okay. And then I was like, oh, because for one of my animations I did for Adobe's launch, can't remember what was it, the new Firefly. I think I had one of my paintings like squirt out, like melt from a mock-up that I did. So I kind of thought that would be a nice transition in and out
Right.
because it started off as a painting. So the easy hack here is I was short on time. I just dropped in one of the mock-ups I created in Firefly, and then I think from this one I used this as the first frame, and then my painting for the second one. I think because my painting is more landscape, it just cropped the middle bit, which is fine. Like if I had more time, you pick the right composition so that it will transition nicer. But this way it kind of cropped in. And then I literally took a screenshot of this on top of that.
Right.
And
Awesome.
then I input it into here. And then I use this
You said,
as
"Do it for me."
the end frame.
Yeah. Cool.
So then, so I dropped this in. I used the video that I exported. I just kind of went like this. I made it as big as I could, took a screenshot, and then re-input it into this file so then I could drop the start and the end frame. So I think this one, if you look at, so the first frame and the last frame, you kind of see
That's pretty cool.
it zoom into that. And then I think from this one, I did So this one probably didn't, see how it just jumped at the end?
Mm.
I'd probably try less with the landscape because I feel like it's landscape. But you can kind of see the thinking around like on which frames I'd use as the first one, and then how would I link it back to this one from this. Where there's some kind of linkage. I'm guessing this would be the order. So you do one other thing is, if I really like this animation and I wanted to keep it, I could screenshot the end frame as the second one to be where the second video starts from.
Right.
Because you kind of don't want it keep going back to the static version so that it can continue. I guess you can keep doing that. Like if I really wanted to see this whole thing submerged underwater, I'd take a screenshot of this and continue that prompt, so then it'll disappear. And then from there I can make it loop into something else.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit confusing though sometimes. You're like, oh, which one's
right, which one's which?
Especially, yeah, and then especially when like you've got things that are not in the right order. Generating, yeah.
And you can do landscape videos, of course, as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah. You can try and see what this will look like as a landscape. Yeah, like these are square format.
Right.
I really like this one too. I was gonna get trees growing out of them or something. I was like, let's just keep it simple. Because I think with foliage, the results are much nicer when you can be specific with the type of plant you want. So this one, maybe you say like cherry blossom because of the existing colors already there. But sometimes like if it goes back to like a lot of the stock images that it's used to create these type of animations, whatever you see most will probably be the plants that they pick without you dictating any suggestions.
Right. Yeah.
This one kind of just popped up. So because I didn't say any water rippling, it just kind of jumped into like a static image, which isn't as nice.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But because the other one I said landscape with water, it knew, but the focus was too much on the landscape that it also didn't give me the right result. So you can kind of keep generating these until you get something you like, but it depends also how much time you have. So the more structure you can give it, the better. Oh, this is the I really like some of these textures. So if
it's reminding me of those infinite kind of zoom things that people do. Like you could probably quite easily do that kind of like it's an abstract of a painting within a frame that's in someone's room, and then it zooms out and you're going out their window and they're in a little house, and then the house is in a little painting, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay. Now, like my brain's not functioning right now. Okay, so from this one, we get this. And then from half the rock, we get into this painting. From this painting, do we get? No. You can add things to fill it up a bit, so then the transitions aren't very like one step, 2 step, 3. So one workaround is using different speed ramps, so then you can adjust the speed to your liking. But otherwise, so for example, once it's at this stage, maybe I can also use this one in between so that the time of it moving is a bit longer, so it's not stuck on, like, it's not too predictable. For example, maybe I'll do like a couple of these infill ones as the painting is morphing, and then I'll do a screenshot of the last stage of this, and then that would morph more easily into this original painting before it goes into the frame.
Right.
And then from the frame, you can jump back into this, maybe.
It's kind of like the more information, the more you guide it along, the better, more accurate the result's going to be.
Yeah. I actually tried to use, so another one you can use if all your videos that are in order are not reversed, you can just use Adobe Express to join them together.
Right.
Like, you don't really need additional stuff, but I'm quite specific in terms of the speed and that type of stuff that I like to play around with, because the speed is not always consistent, and sometimes having that additional thing makes it look less obvious that it's just 4 videos joined together. But yeah, if you just use Adobe Express, you can probably do that. I think I tried. I thought you could reverse videos in here, but maybe
can you?
Maybe they got rid of it, or maybe it's changed. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Drag a video. Oh, actually, let's download some. Oh, this one's a bit better. Like, I can just keep generating for ages, but this one's probably one of the better results. So this will be the last frame because it's jumped back. And then I probably won't use this one. Oh, this one's good. I think this one I got wrong because the order's different. Now, I think the only one we're missing is from this painting. This painting to something else.
Yeah, I guess it's easy to get pretty lost when they like static. They all kind of look the same.
Yes. That's why you need to be more organized. Okay, 1, 2, and then this loading one will fit here, and then from here, I'm gonna watch this video back and be like, oh my god, it was that one. That one. This is the last one. Yeah, hopefully that's. Now check if
Do you need to download them before you can pop them in?
Yeah, I've just downloaded them.
Oh, right.
I'll probably do one at a time just to see if we can actually reverse. You can fill video. I didn't know that. I think it's just, that's the look and feel. I feel like you could before. Maybe it's the separate effects. Animation. Nope.
I think think sometimes you have to wait for the video to have like completely loaded before some of the options that are grayed out as well. I did something similar recently. I can't remember what it was.
Just wait a little bit.
Yes, that might be a thing. But it looks like they're loading pretty quick, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one. This one's awesome.
Yeah, it looks nice. Maybe we'll try the screenshot of the half and then see what the other half will look like if we were to submerge it. I'm really surprised at how quick the board is as well, because it's got so much stuff on it. Some of the videos I've added on is a lot.
You'd think it'd get laggy and more laggier over time, but it doesn't seem to affect.
So if I use this as a first frame, let's generate. Then this line could become its own separate animation. So you will start from here, go down, and then hopefully it will continue syncing. See how this one ended with the painting, even though I put that as the first frame?
Right.
I think that's why I was reversing them in Premiere Pro. But it doesn't matter. Once you reverse it, it'll kind of zoom in the same, and it doesn't have too big of effect. The only time you'd worry about that would be if like you had the clouds moving a certain direction and then halfway starts moving the other way, or you've got the water like if the water rippling out as it's going down versus like the water ripple look different if you change direction.
Right.
Oh, it's now turning. That's so cool.
That's kind of cool.
Like dipping in the Titanic.
So if anyone just joining, Joy's been remixing some of her artwork and kind of, I guess you just remix so far down, you kind of go down a rabbit hole, right? And then
I do.
Yeah, and then it's like
we started off here with these.
Which was a mixture of a Bauhaus inspired remix that I threw in yesterday.
Yes.
So it's amazing where it goes.
Yeah, I think this one was your Bauhaus image mixed with one of my 3D models. And then I remixed this one with a physical painting. And then we got some textured stuff that I really liked, like these. And then got some cool ones like this. And then from there, we used this one to start animating. So then we're adding movement to it. And then you kind of keep going. Because you can just join these three quite easily. But yeah, if I think I got sidetracked. But yeah, once you join them, reverse them, the first and the last frame will be the same, and then you've got a loop.
That's how you can get the loop, yeah. And as you said, like you got to be careful of things like clouds going in a certain direction or things to do with gravity that then you're reversing that are obviously going to look very much like it's just been reversed and not that something's looping. But yeah. It's really cool. I love the idea of kind of like the infinite zoom as well. I know it was a bit of a trend that happened like 2 years ago or something.
I think you
maybe
can do that if you do like a house or room and you just keep going in and deeper,
right,
and come out really big scale.
Yeah.
Actually, this one was one, like just another example I wanted to show you. I had this output that I quite liked. And then I had this, I don't know, chip and dip bowl thing that I made. And I thought it would be cool if I had the flowers growing out of the pot. And then I think in Photoshop, I was just playing around with like the composition to see what it looked like if this kind of popped out. So I was just doing different versions of this in Photoshop. And then you can preload these into videos just to see what the motion could look like. I didn't end up liking this because I thought the bowl, because of the shadows, looked a bit random, like it was just floating. So it didn't look as realistic if I was going to animate it. So I probably need some better photos now that I have this idea. For example, I might get the angle a bit better, and then in Photoshop you can probably generate a bit more fill to begin with,
Right.
so that then this will pop out. But in here it's really good to just really quickly remove the background to see what it could look like, and then you play around like different color schemes without doing too much. And then you can kind of get different variations before you jump into then wasting a lot of time going down the rabbit hole of animating and giving it some motion. I thought this was another good example to show, which is also why I have like Photoshop separate layers so that I can edit them quite quickly and just generate new ideas that way.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like a totally different way of kind of thinking and kind of being creative, like throwing some things in and then kind of seeing where it goes, and then going down these rabbit holes. But it's great to see the video and the animation, and I think it's kind of mind-blowing that all this stuff is happening on this one canvas that is also just in a browser. And I think that's kind of something to
clean, easy looking.
He's kind of basic, yeah. But I think it's very interesting. Like, it's not how I would have expected it to kind of work. Often when we think about video, we think about things taking a really long time. We think about using complex software like Premiere Pro or After Effects as well. I think like a lot of people, particularly traditional designers or just hobbyist creators, or us generalists. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do some video editing. I need a weekend for that, kind of thing. So it's interesting that this is all happening very quickly in the browser in lots of different directions at once. So yeah, it's really cool. Well, thanks, Joy. Thank you so much for taking us through all of this. It's been really interesting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been really great. And for those watching on demand or live as well, if you missed the first stream, you can jump back, where if you're looking at these boards thinking what the heck's going on, we did experiment and play around a little bit with the basic functionality of using boards, which can be used just for static imagery. You can pull in, your own artwork. You can remix it. You can generate things within these boards. I think it's not the last time that you're probably going to see boards being mentioned. I think they'll probably develop into being a pretty handy tool in the Creators Toolkit as we go along this adventure of AI-generated stuff. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for watching and joining us on Adobe Live. Adobe Live. Almost finished, and I stuffed up right at the end. On Adobe Live Asia Pacific this week. It's been really, really great. And again, thank you, Joy, so much for joining us today.
No, thank you.
All right, bye, everyone. We'll see you next time on Adobe Live.